I'm writing this in front of my TV. My Xbox is on and is resetting to the main dashboard. I can see my avatar, and I think he can see me. He occasionally waves. I prefer to keep my eyes on the screen as much as possible because better the devil you know, right? This all started about a week ago. I was mixing up between Trials HD and Battlefield 1943. I am an arcade nut and love some of the games that you could download. I was only on a level on the Trials when I received a party invite. The thing is that it had no name attached to it. It was just an empty followed by has invited you to an Xbox Live party. Flummo Mox, I accepted it and entered the party. When I clicked on the menus, I saw that I was the only one there. Somewhat strange, but not impossible. The person left before I entered. Just as I was readying to leave, someone else joined the party. Namely, it was Silicone Lemming has joined the party. Now, this has made me smile, as sometimes you see rather weird glitches online. I checked the menus and I saw my name twice in the party. I was playing Trials and the other one was editing the avatar. "Hello," I said, not really expecting an answer. "Hello," I echoed back to me a couple of seconds later in my voice. I relaxed and sound delay and the party glitches were rare, but it did happen. Getting freaked out over a glitch, I said, half annoyed that I had allowed it to unsettle me. My words had returned to me, but this time it was a tone of the words that become a little mocking. This had made me stop for a short second. I shook my head and reasoned it. I must have misheard. "Why don't you come and say that to my face?" A current private joke that me and my friends were sharing at the time. Maybe I might just do that. My blood turned to ice. That was my voice, but I hadn't said those words. The other me left the party immediately after that. I sat for a moment, confused and shaking as the adrenaline pumped in. I checked the lists of the interactive profiles, but revealed nothing. I eventually decided that it was enough Xbox for that night, and I turned it off. The incident played on my mind for the entire next day, and that evening I was back on the Xbox again. I spent a couple of minutes looking around the menus for anything scary, but everything seemed delicately normal. About a half an hour into my some sense, Splusion Man, I received a voice message. I was getting bored of the game, so I dropped to the dashboard and opened up the message. It was heavy breathing for a few seconds, followed by a voice saying, "Can you say distraction?" Once again I was confused. I stared at the screen and the background. I could see my avatar dancing away, but there was nothing to attribute the message to. Momentarily, a logical fear made me spin around him to inspect my room, making sure that there was nothing there. It was when I turned back and I nearly screamed. My avatar has forced his way forward towards the menu, and his head was now filling the entire screen. He stared at me silently, his hands planted against the screen from the opposite sides. He pointed at me and drew a finger across my throat. I started to smell the burnt plastic. Trickle of smoke escaped from the console, then it crashed. The last thing I saw was the colors that invert on the Xbox, and the faces of the threatening avatar turned to electric pink and green. The image disappeared, followed by the standard no signal message. My Xbox was wrecked, and when I had to switch it back on, I decided to dreaded the Ring of Death, the ominous name for a defect that was lost on me. I waited for a month before I eventually sent off my Xbox for repairs. I bought it about brand new, and it was well within warranty, so I got it to replace for free. I sat in the hallway for a fortnight before I had the guts to switch it back on. I finally rigged it up, and now I was staring at the dashboard. Everything was fairly normal until I logged into my profile and saw literally dozens of voice messages, all of them in my voice screaming, "Where are you?" and "We're not done yet." And the final message was dated about 20 minutes ago. All it said was, "I'm done waiting. I'm coming to get you." The avatar on the screen has stepped forward and started to rub his hands together. Then he started to wave. It took me a couple of seconds to realize that he was waving at someone behind me. Alright, and that, my little pretties, was Xbox Live. A Xbox creepypasta written by the Silicone Lemming. My final thoughts on the story. I'm going to be honest that I actually found this one to be pretty good pasta, actually. But it is a little bit confusing. But I am going to get to the confusing part in a bit. But I want to get to the main reason why I like this story. Now, for one, this story was actually quite freaky. Like, especially when I first heard this story from Creeps Pasta. And I mean, that was actually a pretty good story. And same with Creep Reads. I do know that Dave the Useless narrated this a couple years ago, so I wasn't really that into creepypastas back then when I first discovered that story. But now looking at it, I actually really like this story. This story was actually pretty well made. I actually really do like how the story went out. It was pretty amazing. I mean, this is actually quite of a freaky story. Like somebody inviting you to like a random party and you hearing your own voice there. Now, it could be possible. It could be like, a I don't know, something, maybe just like a voice, like it looks like somebody's voice is echoing in there. I mean, like that's actually quite believable. Like I know Xboxes can glitch sometimes. Like I have one myself, so there's definitely no doubt right there. I actually really find this story to be, an amazing one. I really do like how this story went out. It's a really well made story for what this one is. I mean, when I first watched this pasta, I think from Creeksmith Pasta, yeah, I wasn't really that into creepy pastas back then, but I actually really liked this story. I actually found this story to be, quite enjoyable. It had a really good concept. The grammar of this story is really well done. But the only thing negative I have to say about it was what the avatar was waving to someone behind the protagonist. That's honestly quite confusing to say the least. It's quite confusing because I'm assuming that it might be, well, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I have a feeling that it's probably maybe, somebody, from the dark web or maybe a hacker who managed to hack somebody's Xbox and was able to know who they are and got in their house somehow. That's kind of freaky. Find this to be a horror story as well. This is actually pretty freaky. Like having, your avatar wave at someone behind you. I'm like, I know that doesn't really happen. Like, I know avatars on Xbox usually wave to you and all that, and, just say, hey there, or, well, not hey there, but kind of make, expressions and all that. This story, honestly, I really have to say it's a pretty good story. Now, I decided to give this one a shot because I actually was looking for a decent, Xbox creepypasta. I did find some good creepypastas on well, not good, but I found some creepypastas on Xbox, but most of them were either cliched or they weren't that great to begin with. So, which is the reason why I decided to go ahead and do this story. This story was pretty good. This, if you guys hearing that noise, that's actually a school bell running. My window's open, and plus I live near, a school. I'm not going to say the name of what school that I live not far from for obvious reasons, but yeah, that's what's going on. In case if you guys are all wondering, but yeah. Anyways, I actually have to say the only confusing thing I have to say was the deep web part. That was a little confusing, but in the same time, though, that was all it really was. The only negative was the fact that it was confusing at certain parts. Like, there were some parts of this story I just didn't really quite understand, but it's still a really good story. To the author, you did a great job with this story. I'm not gonna lie. This story was actually really well made and it was fantastic. So, anyways, with that being the case and with that being said, yeah, Like I'm gonna say right now, the only negative I have to say was it was confusing towards the end on who was actually behind the protagonist. Like, I mean, it could be maybe someone from the deep web or a hacker who managed to, hack into his, IP on Xbox, got his address and all that, and he must have somehow found his way over to this protagonist's location. I mean, it's quite very possible. Like, but other than that, it's a pretty good story, and it's on the regular Creepypasta Wiki. I recommend you guys go check that story out. It's pretty good. You will not be disappointed. So, anyways, that being the case, that being said, I'm gonna sit here and wrap up the review. Like I'm gonna say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. I'm giving it a 9 because the ending was just a little bit confusing, but at the same time, it was still a pretty good story. I'm not gonna deny that. It was a really well made story. It was pretty good, and I actually found this story to be quite enjoyable. So, anyways, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.